we're going to talk about whether it's time for you to take a risk. And of course, we're talking about business risks. And if you've been listening to this show for a while, then you know that we are profitable, even barely so, and that it's been a struggle to get through most months because our production costs are astronomically high. Right now, we are paying $6 a book and selling them at shows for 1 for $20, 2 for $30, or 3 for $40. Now, in doing that, we sell a lot of books, but as you can see, that is a poopy profit margin. Max, and that's when we sell 1 book for $20, we're making 3.5 times our costs. And since there are con costs, operational costs, and we also had costs to produce the book, that profit becomes non-existent even when we sell a ton of books. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, wow, 3.5 times margin sounds great, but this is something you must know about business. That's a terrible profit margin. I mean, it's not terrible. It's good for some businesses, but a nice, juicy, healthy profit margin is about 10 times production costs. If we can get to 10 times production costs, we can make ourselves a nice little decent profit, including paying operational costs and everything else we have to do. And especially means we can scale. And now, a lot of you have probably heard scale before, but don't know what it means. All it means is when you take your business from one level and grow it over time. Lots of things can't scale. So if you have 3.5 times profit margins for just me, and I add 10 more people to my team, that margin goes away and it's impossible to scale. But at 10 times profit margin, 10 times production cost, you can have a lot more staff. You can do a lot more things as your business scales. You can hire people. You can make sure that you can pay your distributor costs and your reseller costs and still end up ahead in the end. And if you want to hear more about scaling, we talked about it a lot in the episode I did with Afif Ghannoum, which you can find by going to thebusinessofart.us/archive. Type in Afif, AFIF, in the search bar and check that interview out. It's a really good one. So long story short, it was time for us to make a change. In order to be profitable in the long term and to be able to scale this business, we had to do one of two things. We had to either charge more for our books or make them for less. Now, really hard to charge more than $20 for a trade paperback for a book and make it appealing for the mass consumer. So that's a little bit tough. So what we decided to do was look for a way to cut our costs down from $6 a book to $3 a book. We could half our production costs and it would allow us to, instead of getting a 3.5 times profit margin, get a 7 times profit margin. Now, on the other side, I knew that if we could get a hardcover for cheaper, or even the same $6 a book, we could sell that for $30 or $35 and no one would blink an eye. So that was what we were looking for. Either a book that cost about $6, but it was hardcover so we could sell it for $30, or a company that could do a soft cover for $3 a book. And guess what? We found one that could do both. That's right. We found a printer that could ship to me for $3 a book and print it in hardcover at that cost, which means we could get our cost down to $3 a book and sell it for $30 a book, which is a 10 times profit margin, which is ideally what we were looking for. Now, that was something we never thought would happen. We never thought we'd be able to get a 10 times profit margin on a book, but we found it. And we were so psyched because it meant that we could now charge 1 for $30 at a con or 2 for $40, which means at the worst case scenario, we were making over a 5 times profit margin. Now, remember what I said before. The best case scenario previously, or what we're doing right now, is we get a 3.5 times profit margin, which means the worst case scenario in the new paradigm is better than the best solution that we have right now. Sounds wonderful, right? But here's the rub. In order to get that price, we have to buy thousands of units of Katrina and Ichabod. Thousands of units. And even at $3, 3,000 units is still $9,000. I don't have that money. We already talked about that. Our profit margins are razor thin. And this would dip us far into the red. So far into the red that we wouldn't even be able to see the black anymore, except on the brightest day. Now, we can't afford to do this, but we also can't afford to not do this. Because if we don't do it, there's no way this company is going to succeed. We cannot survive on, at best, a 3.5 multiplier for our profit margin. We have to increase it. So, we're taking a risk. We're taking a risk that by investing $9,000 into books, $90,000. And if it takes us 3 years to sell that, that's still $30,000 a year that we can make at shows. If it takes us 2 years, it's $45,000 a year. Again, it's not the best money in the world, but it's very respectable money as opposed to what we're doing now, which is we buy some books, we sell some books, then we buy more books, and then we sell those more books. This is a calculated risk because we can make more money at the end of the day. Even if we sell less units, we can make the same amount of money. We literally have to sell half the amount of units to make the same amount of money. And I think that's a pretty good risk, but it is not without risk because I could break my leg. God forbid I could die. God forbid everything floods and we lose all of the books. That's $9,000 down the drain. If for some reason cons stop accepting me and I can't go to as many cons, that's a risk. If we have to vacate our house and I have to find storage for this and we don't have a garage where I can store all of my stuff, that's a risk. But in running all of the numbers, I know that spending $9,000 to make $90,000 is a pretty good bet. Again, that's a 10 times multiplier, which is pretty healthy. So let's bring it back to you. Because here's the thing. No business is without risk. In fact, I would say business is mostly risk. No matter who you are, no matter how much money you make, you're investing almost all the money you make, and at least all the profit you make, back into the business. Because you want it to grow, you want it to scale. And as you get more successful, the risks become bigger. So instead of buying $9,000 of merchandise, maybe next time I buy $90,000. That doesn't change the fact that it's a huge risk and probably enough risk to bankrupt me in each scenarios. So all business is about risk. All business is about trying things that may or may not work, whether you have the money to do it or not. And so here's where it comes back to you. I want you to stop saying you don't have the money, because money is an excuse. No business ever has money. Whether you make $2 or $2 billion, you can always use more money to grow your business. But there are ways to take calculated risks, and everything's a calculated risk. And you can either keep standing on the sidelines saying you have no money, or you can get in the game. I'm not saying that the risk is worth it for your scenario. I don't know your scenario, but I would sure like to. Starting now, we're doing free business consultation calls, free strategy calls, where we talk you through the biggest problems of your business and try to give you a roadmap to success. It's completely free. All you have to do is go to thebusinessofart.us/consultation and book your strategy session now, and we can see if the risk that you're thinking about is worth it for you. Because it may not be, but there's a lot of ways to hedge your bets and make calculated risks. We're not talking about the lottery here. The lottery may pay off once for one person, but everyone else that plays it's going to get broke. What I'm talking about is taking calculated risks. And that's it for me, wannabes and creators. I will see you next time. Have a great day out there.